Good morning, and welcome to Smart Money, Financial Institutions and Funds Project Spotlight. And this session is about what happens when financial innovation meets climate ambition. From active platforms in Africa and Asia to securitization breakthroughs in Singapore, we will explore how AIIB and our partners are scaling climate-aligned infrastructure. To start, Kishlaya Misra and I will co-share the first project with you. Let's begin. Kish, over to you.
Thank you. Good morning, all. Welcome to AIIB annual meeting. Myself, Kishla, along with my colleague, Eric, we are here to talk about our fund project investment, which we have done with AP Moller Capital. Let's start. We are in AI era, so let's start with an AI image. Imagine standing inside a cold chain facility in South Africa. At the first glance, these infrastructure assets just look like traditional infrastructure within the boundaries. But what it's solving is much more beyond that, what it looks across. It's solving food access, it's solving food safety, it's solving for regional trade in South Africa. And through AIIB, this is just one node in the larger climate infrastructure scape which we are trying to do. It's just one node which we are trying to solve towards the larger climate ambitions. As you would see in this image, there are a lot of assets put together. A green hydrogen corridor through our partnership with AP Moller Capital is taking shape in Morocco to solve for European energy transition. A renewable asset solar C&I platform is being seeded in Southeast Asia to solve for energy access in Southeast Asia. A cold chain logistics in South Africa is taking shape to solve for food safety in Africa. These all look different assets, different classes, different sectors, but they are not isolated. They are all connected. They are designed to replicate, compound, and connect. And this is where, as AIIB, through this investment, we want to bring to your notice is, don't see infrastructure as a standalone asset. See that these are scalable platforms which are trying to solve for various problems of the emerging markets. And this is a very beautiful moment where AIIB, based out of Asia, has partnered with AP Moller Capital, a European fund manager, which is solving for transportation, energy, and climate challenges in Africa and Asia. So basically, you have global partners solving global problems. And this is what AIIB stands for. AIIB stands for not just solving for what is needed in Asia, but what is needed across. This is what it stands for, where we have partnered with AP Moller Capital, and would like to welcome Jens, Laura, Bay, who have flew from all parts of the world to come here and talk about how this partnership is taking shape. It's about realizing their potential, our potential, and how we can work together as partners to unlock the value, unlock the challenges of creating emerging markets platforms in emerging markets. And lastly, before moving on, I think we just wanted to communicate that climate ambitions needs institutions coming together. It can't be seated isolated, and through our presentation, and Torsten through his presentation will talk about. And this is what is the larger objective of this annual meeting, connectivity and collaboration. And this is what is needed to really solve the infrastructure problems which we have at our hand. I'll move to next slide. Now, very traditional infra assets picture, you'll see what is the difference here. The real difference lies in when we are solving climate solutions, we are looking at one asset, one country, one milestone at one time. And this is the real challenge of seeing climate solutions in a piecemeal basis. It should be integrated, it should be seen in a holistic, comprehensive manner. And if climate solutions, all these discussions on net zero have to be achieved, then we have to move faster and smarter. We can't see it in a fragmented, isolated manner. And that's why our partnerships through AP Moller Capital, we are trying to create how we can move faster and smarter. And at AIIB, we are committed to not only climate ambitions, but also ensuring that the climate ambitions are reached faster and smarter. What do we do at AIIB, and how do we solve it? We just don't wait. We just don't wait for a project to take shape. It's not just about finding where the next climate project is coming, which AIIB can solve for. It's about how we bring together to unlock the value of climate solutions. It's about for addressing net zero, it's not about what is needed next. It's about what systems and institutions are needed together to move towards net zero ambition. At this note, I also want to bring to your notice that all investments of AIIB are Paris-aligned. What it means is not just a green asset. At the macro level, it's look like Paris-aligned, just a green asset. Basically, it talks about how AIIB is partnering with its partners to develop systems and institutions by contributing towards capacity and capability development jointly with them and exploring the joint partnership to reach these climate solutions which can be reached together. And these are real pictures, by the way. This is not an AI image. These are the real assets on ground which AIIB has invested and partnered with AP Moller Capital. You will see here, and Eric will talk more about how the EV fleet the electrolyzation is happening in South Africa. You will see in air cargo logistics and warehousing in Egypt how the GHG emission reduction is taking shape. And you will see about what really seeding a platform means, starting from where it is, and this is how it is taking shape in Southeast Asia. And when we talk platforms, I just want to clear the myth. We are not looking for mega projects, few $1 billion and all things. It's not only, it's about mindset. A platform approach starts with a mindset, and Southeast Asia is a perfect example of it, where you start bringing people, regulators, policymakers, investors, multilateral institutions like us together to solve for these problems. And that too, in emerging markets, while taking climate ambitions together. It's about not just building sites, and I emphasize again, it's about building systems. It's not just about having some investment done and monitoring and getting return and impact. It's about creating institutions which have a legacy, it's about creating institutions which are regional champions. So the aim is, while you will see just one solar irradiation site, the idea of this platform is how to make the solar C&I platform a regional champion. You will see one EV fleet out there, but the idea is how do we take this across South Africa and the neighboring countries. So that's how what we are trying to do, and this mindset change is needed of not seeing climate one asset one time. It's about finding partners where we can jointly synchronize our efforts to create that thing. And you will ask what AIIB brings on the table. So basically, through partnerships, we bring on the table is our climate sustainability focus, our governance focus, our due diligence focus, if you can say integrity-related focus, financial sustainability on the core. And this is what cross-border infrastructure looks like, not solving problems for today. This picture is a perfect manifestation of how infrastructure, through correct partnership, can solve for problems for tomorrow. And this is how cross-border infrastructure looks like when we are trying to address it. Now let's talk about the meat. This is the EMF2 which we have invested in. And we have Jens, and we'll talk more about it. EMF2 is a $1 billion, almost $1 billion private equity fund, which is trying to solve transportation and energy problems in Africa and Asia. What is different, you will ask? We have so many private equity funds. The real difference lies in their core focus and not only intent, the commitment towards EU SFDR Article 9. Article 9 EU SFDR is the highest standard right now for sustainability-linked investments in private equity fund. It's not just about having climate or sustainability, good to have it. It's about must to have it. And the more important point, rather than must to have it, is a clear and a measurable impact which can be measured. It has to be measurable and monitored and reported back. So that's the one big differentiation or the challenge which they are trying to work. One more thing which I want to highlight here is about what exactly it means when we are trying to do climate solutions we are trying to address. Basically, AP Moller Capital will have committed that they will reduce 25% of the GHG emission reductions in their transportation assets. You saw an EV fleet in the previous slide. It's about putting cost on the table to ensure that the transportation logistics is electrified to have less GHG emissions. So it's a manifestation of how they are trying to reach. And you will ask, what is the thought process for AIIB to partner with them? I think the real thought process is, and the real problem statement here is, how do we create scalable infrastructure platforms in emerging markets? And for that, you have to partner with somebody who is experienced, who has presence, who knows what it takes. And it's not just about making an investment and it's about having that value addition, sticking around with the investment when it's not working, and ensuring that there is an exit. Because all these platform and impacts will only make sense when there is a realized value on the table. And this is why we have partnered with AP Moller, which have this entire life cycle experience of investing, harvesting, and divesting. With this, let me ask Eric to give a little more flavor about the platforms which I talked about.
When South Africa joined the AIIB as its newest member, we didn't wait. We backed Vector Logistics, our first ever private equity investment in South Africa, because we saw more than just a coaching business. We saw a trade engine. South Africa drives nearly 20% of all intra-African trade. With the African Continental Free Trade Area promising to boost intra-African flows by more than 50% by 2025, the country is poised to become a climate-smart trade leader across the continent. And Vector sits at the heart of that shift. It is not a small operation. It is a platform. With 20 distribution sites, nearly 1 million tons of goods transported annually, 5,600 job points, and reach extending across Namibia, Botswana, and Zambia, Vector is the temperature-controlled backbone for food and essential goods. But what makes this asset truly transformational is how it is going green. For example, Vector is currently deploying one of the country's first fleet of fully electric net-zero trucks, charged by solar, digitally tracked, and is designed to cut greenhouse gas emissions by at least 25% during AIIB's investment period. And this is climate action with wheels. And Vector is more than cutting emissions. It is also about unlocking new export markets for South African agriculture. It's about ensuring vaccine integrity. It's about expanding trade that feeds, heals, and connects Southern Africa. With AIIB support, Vector isn't just delivering cases. It is delivering a climate-aligned trade future. And that's what platform investing looks like in motion. Climate ambition meets regional trade, and a new type of connectivity is born. While South Africa shows what is already in motion, Morocco and Egypt show how platforms are built long before a single turbine turns or a shipment is loaded. In Morocco, we're helping shape what could potentially become one of Africa's most strategic climate corridors. A green ammonia platform designed to link Africa's renewables to Europe's hydrogen demand. With unmatched wind and solar potential, and a national strategy targeting 0.7 million tons of green hydrogen production per annum by 2030, Morocco may fast become a climate export powerhouse. And this isn't just about building a single facility. It's about designing a full value chain. Renewable generation, hydrogen synthesis, ammonia logistics, and export terminals. And what is AIIB's role in this? We are currently at the pre-feasibility stage, supporting the development of ENS policies and climate standards to make this corridor bankable and replicable. If successful, then this isn't just a Morocco win, but a regional blueprint and the climate bridge between Africa and Europe. In Egypt, we are investing in something that rarely makes headlines, but quietly powers the movement of entire economies. A dedicated air cargo terminal. Strategically located near the Cairo International Airport, this hub handles high-value, time-sensitive goods, such as perishables, pharmaceuticals, and electronics. It's not just airport infrastructure, but trade infrastructure. It is designed to support Egypt's position as a logistic gateway between Africa, the Middle East, and Europe, linking production centers to demand hubs and strengthening the flow of goods across borders. And more importantly, it connects upstream investment in infrastructure with downstream results for real economies. From food security to health supply chain, from industrial exports to regional integration. And these aren't one-off deals. They're early signals of a continental platform. Together, they represent a new type of cross-border connectivity. Climate infrastructure that doesn't just move electrons or freight, but enables policy alignment, regional trade, and global decarbonization. And this is just the beginning. Much more is coming. New partnerships, new corridors, and new ways to scale Africa's climate future. One platform at a time. And this isn't just about money, it's about people too. It's about a better way to build in a calibrated manner, balancing the risks and rewards in emerging markets. We bring MDB grade standards to local expertise and get that institutionalized across these platforms. We don't try to do everything, but we partner with best-in-class fund managers who share the same value, have feet on the ground, and teams with deep insights. We are the connector between ambition and implementation, between capital and climate, between regions and results. And that's what platform logic looks like in practice. Over to Kish for the closing remarks.
Thank you, Eric. By this time, you would have realized that we have not just done infrastructure investment and just seeing it as an infrastructure piece. What we are seeing it is a larger systematic and institutional development together. This is not just an investment to harness returns. It is an investment to harness returns, create systems and institutions with climate ambitions. We need climate champions like AIIB, and this is what AIIB role is to create these climate champions along with us if we really want to reach the net zero target. And this is what the larger partnership is all about. This is really what it means when we say climate platform in action. We talked about green pulse flowing through infrastructure. We talked about institutions. Let's talk about trust. Because trust is also important, and this is where AIIB comes into picture. Through our partnership, through fund managers like AP Moller, we bring all stakeholders together to talk about how to reach net zero. It can't be isolated, fragmented approach, and this is where the importance of trust also is important in addressing the climate challenges. So is it just the end? Not necessarily. This is the beginning of creating of platforms which are scalable, regional champions, interconnected corridors, which are solving the problems of the emerging markets. With this, I'll take a pause and just wanted to leave that this is how AIIB sees infrastructure for tomorrow with a shared future with climate at the core of solving those challenges for the future through addressing these investments. I would now like to invite Jens for a short discussion along with us, if you can help us, please. Yeah. Jens, please. Welcome to Beijing. Thank you for participating. And more importantly, thank you for the real infrastructure projects picture. Not necessarily only AI created, which you guys have done. So let me start by, and this is something which I emphasized in my discussion, was about SFDR 9. And this is where each stakeholder has to take climate not just as an intent, but as a commitment to solve climate. And this is what I wanted to understand from you. What sort of motivated AP Moller Capital to commit proactively to it, and why it's strategic from AP Moller's capital perspective?
Yeah, so I think it's worth just briefly touching on the sort of the broader group we're part of. So when I had the privilege of being part of setting this up about 8 years ago, one of the key things that attracted me to join a subsidiary of the AP Moller Group was its focus on doing well while doing good. We're ultimately owned by a benevolent foundation set up by the family sort of about 20 years ago. And one of our core 4 values is constant care, which also extends to climate, extends to safety, extends to the sort of the broader sustainability framework. So when we set up Fund 2, or EMIF 2, which we're humble and grateful for your partnership and participation, and that's also a responsibility we take seriously. We focused on 3 core themes, as you outlined in your presentation. So climate change, obviously, front and center of what we do, but also looking at food security. 25% of all food that is produced in Africa goes to waste because of lack of storage, like what we do in vector logistics. And of course, the changing supply chain. So we see the confluence of these 3 themes working very well together. So when it comes to a deal underwriting, ESG, and think of this as a broad definition of ESG, we have a clear action plan. We have a decarbonization plan where we go to investment committee for each investment. So on vector logistics, there's a very clear plan on how they're going to beat the 25% minimum target of CO2 reductions, and they're well on track to do that. So I think they're already, I think, sitting at about 40% reductions compared to what we of the benchmark we had.
Within a year of your investment?
Within about 18 months, yes. Yeah. So I think this is core of what we do. We are part of a system that is now in its 5th generation. So even though each fund is 10 years, this allows us to work and think in sort of within a generational time frame.
Thank you, Jens. And giving that number with all what we talked about, 40% reduction in 18 months itself, it's a very clear testimony of commitment of all what climate can't just end with an intent. It has to be commitment, there has to be plan, there has to be institutional capability to address it. So very good that you brought this. I think the second thing which I wanted to discuss for the benefit of audience is, I talked a lot about, and Eric gave some few use cases on platforms.
Yeah.
We talked, these platforms are great, good to have, and these are the opportunities, but you are the person who is really digging hard. And while opportunities are good, what are the real challenges you see in creating emerging markets, infrastructure-related platforms, and how do you approach it, please?
So I think you touched on 2 of the key objectives in what we do, and that is to create scale and create pace, because 2050 is just around the corner. We are seeing the challenges of climate change. We're seeing the challenges of demographics, and of course, with sort of recent supply chain disruptions, we recognize the fragility of the system. So I think with all infrastructure, you can't sort of get away from talking about regulatory risk. Regulatory risk is a challenge, and we see that not only in emerging markets, also in OECD markets. And of course, that requires a very clear, strong stakeholder management, and being part of a broader group gives us, I would say, a broader perspective to engage with governments. We're about to hopefully announce a new investment shortly, and part of the actions there is to have a very clear work stream with government to make some regulatory changes to promote more foreign direct investment, and we will certainly sort of tap on AIIB for good guidance and advice there, I can assure you. I think the other part is capacity building when it comes to ESG, and we often see a gap between intent and, I would say, current capabilities. So what we have done at APMC is to build a strong ESG team, which we will basically immerse and use to support our management teams in our platforms to help them not having to recreate the wheel every single time. So, and again, AIIB has been super helpful in bringing capacity there, support, and we have an ESG committee where we, with yourselves and some of the other multilaterals, which meet regularly, and also we sit down and review pipelines, review existing projects, we track progress on our decarbonization ESG plan. So that's very much appreciated. And then of course we talk about timelines. So you saw the picture of a project in Morocco. There's a wind mast We hope there to be 6 gigawatts of wind and solar projects in a couple of years. But things take time, and we often run the risk of delay with any infrastructure project. So the way we typically approach that is to buy in and build into something that it has a certain base already, which we can augment, scale, and basically then get that momentum. But with the view to build a company that sort of then will have a life that goes beyond our fund cycle. Because as you pointed out, exits are important for what we do. It's important for AIIB and multilaterals to recycle capital and get that multiplier effect from an impact perspective and additionality. So for us, we need to make sure we build something that has a runway of generations, even though we are an investor there for 3, 4, 5, or 10 years.
No, thanks. And it reminds me of, again, the word commitment. So AP Moller has this, just for the sake of audiences, this ESG subcommittee to address ENS issues. So ENS issues can't be just at the policy level and you leave, because you're building big infrastructure. Thanks for inviting AIIB and other institutions. And also for the climate commitment to really make it measurable impact. It can't be just a methodology with no consistency. So we have seen that. So much thanks for that. I think we are running out of time. My last question is, and not to ask in a self-fulfilling way, but then how has your partnership with AIIB, for the benefit of larger audience, if you can give a perspective on what we have talked about, how our joint partnerships bring value, but from your perspective, what AIIB as a partner brings value to AP Moller Capital? So
we're part of a system that has been trading in Asia since the 1920s. So I think one of the lessons learned over that period of time is the value of partners and people with complementary skill sets, but like-minded values. And I think certainly with AIIB, we have found that. We started off in Africa in Fund 1, we moved into Asia in Fund 2, and of course, it was then an obvious choice to seek out a partnership with AIIB, who has a very, very strong presence in Asia, but also, I would say we're humbled to be one of your first conduits to bring AIIB into Africa. So that seemed like a very, very, very good match. For us, this is a strategic partnership. We hope this to work throughout multiple fund cycles. We value Jay, Kish, Eric, Kelly, and the broader team as sparring partners on deals. We get intel, we understand complementary views of what's going on in the markets, whether it's at the government level, state, federal level, deals, things that worked, things that didn't work. And it helps our underwriting, and also it'll hopefully help our exit, and in a very, very dynamic world, which I think we see, whether it's climate change, trade flows, demographics, or other things that sort of keep popping up. So I think the other part, of course, is to get the stamp of approval from AIIB that we are worthy of your capital and partnership has helped us also mobilize further capital. So that is that's not to be understated. You came in quite early on in a fundraise. There were other similar-minded investors that saw the press release and picked up the phone and said, "Look,
we call it private capital mobilization."
Exactly. So that was it worked. So it's
thank you for that.
And of course, sort of when it comes to policy changes and dialogue, I mean, when we engage with governments, if we can get a government-to-government relationship via your links to your member states, that is helpful and gives us access and credibility that is complementary to what we could otherwise do. So we're very grateful for this partnership. We're humbled by it, but it's been a great journey so far, and hopefully it's just the start of a longer journey. So
Thank you, Jens. Thank you all. We are just on time, so I'm looking at Michael. If we have just 50 seconds remaining for any questions, or else we can pass it to Torsten. Any questions?
We'll take one question from the audience, and later on, our representative will also be staying in the room, at least some of our representatives to engage in further conversation. We'll take one question.
Let me have a question about the sustainable aviation fuel.
Yep.
And this is an emerging field, and I'm not sure whether you're interested in investing into the SAF, because myself, I'm the CEO of a SAF producer based in Asia. And what we see here is the SAF needs a lot of cross-border infrastructure, like blending, like manufacturing, and also the transportation. So what is your view about the SAF infrastructure? Thank you.
So I think sustainable aviation fuels is probably one of the easier fuels to make as part of the energy transition from a technical point of view. I think a good friend of mine used to be, wasn't until recently, at the executive management board of one of the large European airlines, and the challenge is availability, even more so than price. So from our perspective, I think it's interesting. It is, as you pointed out, transport infrastructure logistics is a key requirement. So we haven't done anything in SAF to date. That's not because we don't want to. We just haven't come across the right opportunity. So I think as airlines, which is probably the hardest to abate transport sector, look to decarbonize, if you get the product, you'll get the customer.
Thank you. Thank you all for your patient hearing, and let's keep moving towards net zero together. Thank you all.
Thank you.